A humble woman was humiliated from pilot camp. Later. Then she landed an F-22 on their turf. They called her name over the loudspeaker, loud and clear, every cadet turning as if drawn by an unseen force. Madison Collins held the sealed envelope in. Her trembling hands, her heart pounding in sync with the cold thud of rejection. "Exit the lineup immediately!" The officer's voice cut through the tense air. No explanation, no second chance, just raw dismissal. Whispers rippled through the ranks. "Guess the small-town girl couldn't hack it here," someone snickered from the back. "Have you ever been thrown out when you least expected it?" Share your story below because moments like these never fade. Madison didn't flinch. She didn't cry. She simply turned away. But while the academy wiped her name from the roster, an unspoken rebellion was already brewing behind closed doors. A simulator log silently replicated her flights, and an F-22 sat prepped in the hangar, a secret project for the one person who refused to give up on her. They wanted silence. But Madison was about to make the sky roar. She stood alone on the cracked tarmac. Her dark hair whipped by the evening breeze, eyes sharp as a hawk's scanning the distant drill sat. 27. She was older than most recruits, her steady calm and quiet confidence. Marking her as an outsider, snippets of laughter drifted from a group of young cadets, military brats, riding on family legacies. Captain James Bennett approached with a look of clinical disappointment, masking a hint of satisfaction. "We've reviewed your tactical assessments," his voice flat. "They fall short under pressure scenarios." He followed the official script perfectly. But Madison knew the truth was far darker as the sun dipped low, casting long shadows over the hangars. She pressed a worn silver pin into her palm, her grandfather's pilot's badge, the last tangible link to the man who taught her to dream beyond their small town. Her grandfather, Charles Collins, wasn't just any pilot. He was a local legend known for fearless flying and mechanical brilliance. "You've got the instincts, Maddie," he told her the first time she took the controls at 14. It's in your blood. That promise had kept her going through every setback. But now, discarded like yesterday's news, it felt shattered, a casualty of a system that prized pedigree. Over raw talent lost in thought, Madison barely heard the gravelly voice behind her. "Rough day, kid." Tech Sergeant Mike Dawson, a grizzled mechanic with grease-stained hands and years of wisdom etched in his eyes. "Don't let them tell you who you are. You're just getting started." Madison Collins grew up in a small farming town in Kansas, where the wide-open skies were her first playground and her grandfather's stories were her biggest inspiration. Charles Collins wasn't just a pilot. He was a legend in their community, known for flying through storms others wouldn't dare touch and fixing planes with nothing but his instincts and old manuals. From the moment Madison was old enough to walk, she was at his side, absorbing every word, every lesson. By the time she was 14, Madison had already logged hours co-piloting his old Cessna, her hands steady on the controls despite her youth. Her grandfather saw something rare in her, not just skill but an unshakable resolve, a burning desire to rise above the limits set by their small-town life. "You've got the instincts, Maddie," he told her one crisp autumn afternoon. "It's in your blood. Don't ever let anyone tell you otherwise." But when Charles passed away suddenly in a tragic crash 3 years ago, that promise became both her anchor and her burden. She carried his silver wing pin everywhere, a tangible reminder of the dreams they shared and the legacy she was determined to honor. For Madison, joining the Pilot Academy wasn't just a career choice. It was a mission to prove that her talent wasn't inherited privilege or a stroke of luck, but earned through grit and heart. Despite coming from humble beginnings and lacking the military family background so many of her peers flaunted, Madison's motivation was fierce. Every whispered insult and sideways glance only fueled her fire. She wasn't just fighting for a place in the skies. She was fighting to rewrite the narrative, that a simple woman from nowhere could outfly the best and carve her name where it truly mattered. Madison's first weeks at the Pilot Academy were a trial by fire. The air was thick with unspoken hierarchies, and the cadets from military families held unchallenged influence. Their polished uniforms and confident strides seemed to shield them from the harsh scrutiny Madison faced at every turn. From whispered rumors in the mess hall to pointed critiques during flight simulations, the subtle but relentless barriers began to close in. It wasn't just the grueling physical demands or the complex technical lessons that tested her, it was the system itself. During tactical drills, her decisions were second-guessed more harshly than her peers. When she made mistakes, they were broadcasted loudly. When others faltered, the room quickly hushed, as if to protect the elite. The instructors, masked, in professional neutrality, often wielded their power with a cold precision that felt anything but fair. Then came the day it all crystallized. Madison was called before the Academy's review board. The charge? Insufficient tactical judgment under pressure. No specific incidents were cited, just a blanket dismissal that stung deeper than any failure. The cold, sealed envelope felt heavier than any medal she'd dreamed of earning. As her name echoed over the loudspeaker, she caught the smirks, the exchanged glances of those who had long seen her as an outsider. But Madison refused to let this betrayal define her. Behind closed doors, away from the judgmental eyes of the Academy, she found quiet allies, retired pilots and mechanics who remembered her grandfather's legacy. They saw the fire still burning in her eyes and offered what little support they could, access to simulators, old flight manuals, and most importantly, belief. In the solitude of these secret training sessions, Madison nurtured her defiance. Every maneuver she perfected, every emergency drill she mastered, became an act of resistance against the system that had cast her aside. While the Academy erased her name from the official roster, she was quietly rewriting her own story, one flight at a time. Madison's secret rebuild began in the dusty hangar of a forgotten airfield on the outskirts of town, where the hum of idle engines mixed with the scent of motor oil and fuel. Each morning, before dawn, she slipped past the main gates and into the shadows, greeted only by the steady rhythm of her own heartbeat and the quiet encouragement of her mentor, Jack, a grizzled ex-pilot with decades of experience and a weathered smile. Day after day, Madison immersed herself in relentless training. Hours in the flight simulator tested her reflexes and decision-making under pressure, pushing her to the edge of exhaustion. Sweat dripped down her brow as she practiced emergency maneuvers, perfecting every barrel roll, stall recovery, and evasive turn until muscle memory took over. Jack's gruff voice echoed through the simulator's speakers. "You've got the skill, Madison, but it's your mind that needs sharpening. Anticipate, adapt, never hesitate." Under his watchful eye, she dissected every mistake with ruthless honesty, turning failure into fuel. But it wasn't all technical drills. Madison ran endless miles through the open fields, building stamina to withstand the brutal G-forces she'd face in a real F-22. She lifted weights in a makeshift gym carved out of an old storage container, her arms growing stronger with every rep. At night, she studied flight manuals and tactical strategies under the weak glow of a single lamp, her fingers tracing diagrams of aerial combat formations. Meanwhile, whispers of her quiet return began to ripple through the pilot community. Word reached a few sympathetic insiders who admired her grit but kept their distance, afraid to challenge the Academy openly. Still, some offered subtle support. a patch to fix her worn flight suit, a secret logbook to record her progress, even an old F-16 simulator for practice. Every training session was a step closer to reclaiming what was taken from her. Though the world outside doubted her, Madison's spirit soared higher with each passing day, readying for the moment she'd prove them all wrong. The day of reckoning arrived with a storm brewing on the horizon, both in the sky and within the ranks of the pilot academy. Madison stood at the edge of the airfield, her heart pounding like thunder in her chest. Clad in her patched flight suit, worn but sharp, she faced a crowd of skeptical cadets and cold-eyed instructors who had once dismissed her as a lost cause. The command center buzzed with tension. Word had spread that Madison had secured an unauthorized flight slot on one of the Academy's prized F-22 jets, a move that sent shockwaves through the establishment. They expected her to fail, to stumble under pressure and confirm their doubts. But what they didn't anticipate was the quiet storm brewing inside her. As the countdown clock ticked down, Madison strapped herself into the cockpit, fingers steady despite the weight of every gaze upon her. The engines roared to life, a symphony of raw power and precision. The simulator drills, the grueling runs, the sleepless nights, all converged in this moment. Once airborne, she pushed the F-22 to its limits, weaving through sharp turns and rapid ascents with an instinct honed from relentless practice. On the ground, the crowd watched, jaws tightening as the cadets' smirks faded into awe. Madison wasn't just flying. She was rewriting the rules. Mid-flight, the challenge escalated. A series of simulated enemy drones appeared on her radar, tests designed to intimidate. With razor-sharp focus, Madison executed evasive maneuvers and counterattacks, each movement precise, calculated. She outmaneuvered the drones with a blend of intuition and raw skill that left even the Academy's toughest critics speechless. Back on the tarmac, Captain Reynolds, known for his ironclad skepticism, furrowed his brow as he observed the live feed. His clipped voice carried the weight of grudging respect. "Looks like the underdogs got claws." As Madison landed the F-22 with flawless grace, the silence that fell over the crowd was deafening. The Academy's walls of doubt cracked under the force of her undeniable talent. In that moment, she wasn't just a pilot who'd been humiliated and cast aside. She was a force to be reckoned with, a symbol that grit and determination could shatter even the strongest barriers. The echoes of Madison's flawless landing still lingered in the air when the ripple effect began. Quiet at first, then swelling into a roar that swept through the Academy's corridors and beyond. That day marked more than just a victory in the sky. It became the turning point in a story of redemption, revelation, and legacy fulfillment. In the days that followed, whispers of Madison's feat spread from cadet lounges to the highest offices. The very people who had doubted her now found themselves forced to confront a truth they'd tried to ignore. Talent and determination couldn't be crushed by politics or prejudice. Invitations came unexpectedly, some formal, others more personal, from senior pilots and commanders eager to understand how she had defied their expectations. Madison, however, remained grounded, driven not by the praise, but by a deeper mission. She sought to dismantle the barriers that had almost ended her dream. Using her newfound platform, she began mentoring younger recruits, especially those from humble beginnings or overlooked backgrounds. Her story became a beacon for anyone who'd ever been underestimated. At a prestigious ceremony months later, Madison stood on the stage, her flight jacket now adorned with medals earned through sheer grit and excellence. The same crowd that once whispered behind her back now cheered her name. With steady eyes and a calm voice, she spoke about the cost of silence and the power of perseverance. Her words resonated far beyond the walls of the Academy. inspiring changes in recruitment, and training policies aimed at fairness and merit. But Madison's legacy wasn't confined to accolades or reforms. It was etched into the very soul of the academy, the quiet confidence of a once-dismissed woman who dared to soar. Her story would live on as proof that humility combined with unwavering resolve could rewrite destiny. Years later, as she watched, a new generation of pilots take to the skies. Madison knew she had fulfilled the promise she'd made to herself on those lonely days after rejection. She hadn't just landed an F-22 on their turf, she'd claimed her place in history, turning humiliation into triumph and inspiring a legacy that would fly high for generations to come. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to smash that thumbs up and hit subscribe for more unforgettable, emotional, and viral true stories. We want to hear from you. Drop a comment and tell us, where in the world are you watching from?